This one is KebabCase. We're going to take this camel case or Pascal case input and replace it with a KebabCase. So that means we're going to be lowercasing any uppercase letters, well, at least at the beginning of those sections. You see here the example foo, bar, baz, all stuck together with F of the foo and B of bar and baz being capital. Will end up as foo dash bar dash baz, all lowercase. All right. So how would you solve this one? Any thoughts starting out?
We need to find a way to, like, okay, so there's the underscore delimiter, there's the capital, like uppercase delimiter. So we need to, I guess, separate these.
I mean, I think if it has those, we can ignore them, right? Because they just get passed through. That's what A3 and A4. Yeah. So if it's already KebabCased, then it's fine.
Not the underscore.
And I guess they're saying
like the thing it's separating is on is the capital letters and the underscore.
Right.
At least from these examples.
Right.
This is also a recursive problem. We also need to do lowercasing because KebabCase is.
Yeah. So for our cases, I'll say if you want to use like capitalize, there is a thing called I think it's called uncapitalize. Here, type x equals. Yeah, so a little trick for everyone. If you want to see something that exists in the TypeScript kind of built-ins, you can type it and then hit F12 and it will go to it. Convert the first character of a string literal type to lowercase. So you see here, this is a funny little thing, keyword that's TypeScript only called intrinsic. And intrinsic just means that they implemented this in the parser and it's like hard-coded into TypeScript how to do uppercase, lowercase, capitalize, and uncapitalize. So anyway, just a fun little fact there. So uncapitalize is available. Let's make it legal, because after this I'll show examples of how to do this without it.
What's the difference between uncapitalized and lowercase?
I think it's just the word they used. It's the same. Yeah, I don't think there's any other. Yeah, I had to be tricky about it. If somebody knows, please comment below. I'd love to understand if there was a rationale for calling it uncapitalize. But anyway.
Okay, and let's work with.
So what we want to do is grab like the recursion can go character by character. Like even though we're thinking of these things in chunks, we can still do them letter at a time.
Because you'd essentially convert any uppercase into a dash lowercase.
Yes. Yeah, I think that will work.
Right. Well, let's give that a go. So infer, because we only have one
like a head and a tail. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Head. Tail. We want to output. We also need to check if. I think we want maybe something like this, so that we can just use head.
I liked it better what you were doing before. I mean, if we just go character by character, then one thing we can say, okay, we can agree on this much. If T doesn't match this sequence, or if we're at the end of T at the base case, we can just return it. Do you agree on that part?
Yeah.
So then,
because that'll be the exit.
Exactly, that'll be the exit. Yes. So then this part, if we don't have a mid, then we can just say we can just ask if tail is already uncapitalized, we would do one thing, and if it isn't, then we would do a different thing. So it's like we can say like this tail like match. Do you know what I mean? We can say like, is tail the same I guess we would do that. Sorry, I'm like thinking in. So like if we do that, then we can.
Right, because this uncapitalized, we're only this. So you mean this way, but infer tail. So that'll be like in this case, it'll be
the rest of the string,
uppercase F, and the rest of it would be lowercase.
Right.
So if the rest of it is lowercase, then you just return tail, and head, uncapitalize.
Head, yes. Exactly. And then yeah, like where do you think the recursion comes in? Because you got that part dead on in the beginning.
So the recursion comes in. Well, it'll be in this case here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But where do you inject the dash in?
So it's like if you think of these as being very similar. Sorry, I was typing. It's like you can put it in right there.
Yeah.
So what this is saying is if the tail already extends uncapitalize of tail, meaning like that would match underscore, that would match this guy, then the dash, it would match lowercase letters, like all of those things are going to be like true for that condition.
Wait, is this KebabCase? I thought KebabCase was always dashes, not underscores.
For the sake of this particular thing, I think I don't think it's asking us to convert. Okay, good question. This is what you were talking about in the beginning. I didn't understand what you were asking. I think for the purposes of this one, this type, we're considering the underscore to be a part of the kebab.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess it's treating this as a
single unit
phrase. As a phrase with it's a single unit, but it's a phrase like 2 words, but this is a phrase and food bar.
And like personally, I think this one B5 is, I would call this a bug, or I would call this wrong, but this is the example that they have. Strange. Like I think it should be foo dash bar and under all lowercase. I think that's what it should be, but I don't make the rules.
Just a single dash.
Exactly, just a single dash, but it isn't. But that actually works out for us because then we're going to replace this B with, what we have here. But we still need to do the recursion part.
That would just be this. You would recurse on the tail. Would you?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. On both. In both of them. Yeah.
Sweet, we did it. Awesome.
I kind of want to do this one. Is it straightforward to do?
No idea. I have no idea.
Because this doesn't seem right. Like,
I agree with you, like, and I think it would be cool to have a version that also handled the underscores. Well, we'll leave it to the reader.
This one makes sense to me. I think now that I think about it, where it's treating this as a phrase.
I get it. It's that one's more acceptable, I think, is what I would say. I'll show you.
I guess what I'm saying, if we do this, like if I change this to be Baz, I would expect this to pass. That statement.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I think that's what they're doing.
I'm just gonna. I want to show some other example. Is it what it was? Oh, foobar. Here, I don't know if the other examples that I found are gonna pass for that. Okay, sweet. So this one. Here's another solution. So I looked online for other ways that people solve this, and this takes a shortcut. These are the only capital letters that happen to be in this example, but use your imagination. You could add all the, was it capital 26, 24 capital letters? I don't know how many letters are in my own alphabet, so don't ask me. Then it does this interesting thing. We've seen this before. It makes kind of like an accumulator, like almost like you're in a reduce function. for arrays. So we see T extends head and tail. Okay, basic stuff. We've seen this before. And then it says, does head extend capital letters? This is kind of like, if we want to flip this, this is kind of like what we did, which is we said, like, does some value extend the uncapitalized version of that same value? But this is cool because it doesn't use the built-ins. That was one of the things that this person was trying to accomplish, is to solve it without built-ins. So here's how you solve it. Then they're saying if the accumulator is an empty string, then pass in KebabCase with the rest of the stuff, and just give us the accumulator followed by the head. I'm sorry, that was for the that's the base case for, or the false case for capital letters. So sorry, I did that a little backwards, but anywho, moving along, we recurse in all three cases. We pass in tail as the next thing in all three cases, but the accumulator is the next part that comes in. So they did use lowercase. Wait, what is lowercase? Lowercase.
Oh, it's the same as
uncapitalized. Oh, duh. Okay.
Yeah,
see, I don't know what I'm talking about. You asked me why did they call it uncapitalized and not lowercase? Because all it does is convert the first character. That's why. It's capitalized and uncapitalized. There isn't a word for that involves lower, is there? Okay.
I see.
So then they're using lowercase
that
there.
Doesn't make any sense too.
Right. There's a third example. I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be that exciting, but I'll show it anyway because I went and found it. There's a third example here, and this third example does something that's kind of interesting. It does it in one shot. So we have this infer head and tail, and then inside here, the first chunk of that is a lowercase head. So they're lowercasing it all the time, whether or not it was already needing to be lowercased. And then the tail, they're asking this question, does tail extend uncapitalized tail? So this is what we did in ours. If it does, then pass in tail to KebabCase. So that's the recursion. If not, meaning it's a capital letter, then like put the thingamajig in there, put the dash rather in there. Hyphen, what do you call it? Do you call it a dash or a hyphen?
Same thing. I just call it dash. Easy.
Okay, cool. So put it in there and then...
Single syllable versus two syllables. Dash is single syllable, hyphen's two syllables.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. You gotta stay efficient. So then the thing that makes this work that's kind of funny is that they didn't have to operate on tail at all here, because next time around it will be T and it will get lowercase. Yeah. So this is a kind of a tricky one, but I like the solution just from like a human interest standpoint. I don't know if I would love to have this in my code base with this kind of solution, because the part where it's actually extremely critical that it lowercases all the time. I mean, we can see what would happen if not.
It's like separated, right? It needs to do a low. So any uppercase, it needs to prefix it with a dash and lowercase it. But in this solution, it's happening in two different places. Right. Yep. And that's what I guess introduces the risk or the disconnect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. If there were a ton of tests, it's semi-legit. Yeah. But I think with the solution that we had in place, I was a bit confused between the uncapitalized and lowercase, because what we had was the uncapitalized of here we go. Yeah, the uncapitalized, so tail extends uncapitalized tail. When I looked at this, I was like, oh, okay, it's lowercasing the entire tail. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's my bad. It works just the same with lowercase. Yeah, like... Yeah. But we don't want to put on lowercase here because, like, well, let's look up here, because you see what happens. Food. Look at this. This wouldn't work. You'd have to check. Tail extends lowercase. You could say tail. I think you can do this. No, that still doesn't work. Anywho. Uppercase uncapitalized is the thing that works there. Yeah. Anyway. Is that confusion between uncapitalized and lowercase? Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. Cool. All right. That was a fun one.